Welcome to my world of TV. Tonight we look at how we got from this on Home Cooking with Fanny Crick.
And you can see very clearly in this casserole dish that there are onions, which have been cut very thinly, carrots, which have been roughly diced, and pieces of meat in between them.
To this on Ainsley Harriet's Gourmet Express.
Have you seen the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Have you seen the Muffin Man that lives down Drury Lane? Have you seen him? Yes, I've seen him. Have you seen him? Yes, I've seen him. He lives down Drury Lane. Now, what you're also going to need...
That's right, because this week on World of TV, we're going to show you how to make your own cookery show.
One is fun, a recipe for pleasure, good and simple. One is fun and serve an infinite portion of all. A simple and good in a singular home. Cook a petit four for one, it's much more fun than it may seem with solid chocolate.
We all love the cookery shows, don't we? Showing as they do the thrill of making delicious recipes from scratch.
I learnt that off Delia.
There's some lovely faggots in the window.
But just how did TV cookery shows come about? Well, Britain hasn't always been the home of award-winning lobster dishes like this. Up until really quite recently, we ate what we could find in the hedges,
I'm gonna eat you.
trees, and ponds.
Turn it over, that's it, yes.
Sometimes all three in a pie. Or if we were really hungry, we'd catch and kill a pineapple and eat its brains.
Open wide.
Then one day, someone went to France.
Escargot.
And we realized that there were all sorts of other stuff we could eat. Starters, main courses, and of course, puddings. And pretty soon, everyone wanted a slice of the new fancy continental cuisine. It was during one such lavish lunch of chicken nuggets and lettuce leaves that the heads of the main TV channels first had the idea of showing people how to cook in a television program.
Chalmers, wonderful. Judith Chalmers. Did you see her last night on the other side? I love Judith Chalmers.
And before we knew it, we were all sitting back and enjoying all the latest recipes, like this one from Grace Mulligan, whose husband named it after, well...
Now, I'd better go on to the last course, which has got a funny old name. It's Grace's Chocolate Fancy, a rather special gâteau named for me by my husband.
Well, what you and your husband get up to in your own time is up to you, Grace. So, what is the recipe, pleased with that, for a good cookery show? Or should I say, what are the ingredients? Well, one of the ingredients, of course, is actual ingredients. Yes, there are a few basic things you'll need to buy before you start filming your show. Most things you'll find in your cupboard already.
Corn on the cob style squirrel.
Pink mashed potato, a dry brownie on a glitter ball. 4 celebrities with a goat in a box. A semi-Fredo on a biscuit base.
We're stuffing a stomach.
A stomach, yes, got that.
Chopped liver, spleen.
Not sure they sell spleen at the meat counter in Asda, but,
And then some ketchup mayonnaise, which is like sweet soy ketchup.
Mum, you seen the ketchup mayonnaise?
The what?
I said ketchup mayonnaise.
Ketchup what?
Mayonnaise.
It looks like 2 poodle penises doused in parsley.
Well, I've definitely got the parsley. Not sure about the, How about cooking a recipe I know?
There are huge variations in recipes for spaghetti bolognese.
Ah, yes, good old spag bol, yes.
Quintessential British student dish. Cheap mince, tinned tomatoes, and if you're really lucky, the dregs of a bottle of red wine.
Great, got all that. But it's a little bit basic. Can we jazz it up a bit, Heston?
All the ingredients of spag bol are there, but somewhat repackaged. Massimo takes the embryo of an unlaid chicken's egg. He poaches it in chicken and beef broth, sucks out the yolk, and then injects it with ragu concentrate.
Mum, you seen the unlaid chicken embryos?
They're in the cupboard next to the poodle penises.
It's not just gathering the ingredients together. You'll need to understand what each of them do. For instance, the common ingredient of butter. What does that do exactly?
Yes, a nice addition is to stir in a lump of butter. Just stir in a lump of butter and that'll make it all nice and buttery.
Oh, thanks for clearing that up. And if I'm cooking fish, what goes with that?
Now, the Chinese say, and I totally agree with them, that ginger and fish
Ginger.
Go together so well because ginger takes away the fishy taste of fish.
The fishy taste of the fish is what I like about fish, Rick. Certain ingredients make natural bedfellows or friends.
Mint and lamb, best friends.
Pastry and egg are best friends. Orange and rhubarb are best friends.
Thyme is another of the tomato's closest friends.
What I'm going to do with these is roast them with some of their best friends.
Rhubarb and custard, best friends.
Chicory and orange salad.
What
Best
is
friends.
chicory?
Of course, turmeric and curry, best friends.
Fennel and orange, they're classic, they're best friends.
Oh, we've got a lovely selection of loads of herbs in there. It goes really well with mushrooms. They're best friends, hand in hand.
They do sort of mingle in with each other, but they become a very nice one. They shake hands and move off into the sunset together like they're best friends.
You can choose your friends, of course, but you can't choose your family.
If I'm eating this at supper, I like the heady aniseed flavour of coriander, but at other times of day, I like its more delicate cousin, dill.
See, I've always preferred his emotionally labile half-brother, Basil. You'll also need to think about how you're going to describe what your ingredients look like.
The gleaming goldenness of the cake and the tender green of the pistachios, tawny tangle of noodles. These strips will have turned a beautiful lambent puce.
Yes, I mean, there is a much more direct way, as Madder Jaffrey found back in the 80s.
4 ounces of very finely chopped onions, and I browned them. As you can see, they're quite brown. Don't worry, they're not burnt, they're brown. Stir it around until it turns slightly brown at the edges. Again, that slightly browned onion taste is very nice. You don't want just boiled onions or lightly sautéed onions. You want lightly browned onions. The idea here is to brown the tomatoes slightly. You see what a nice brown colour this is? Just perfect. This is how it should look. Nice and browned. It's not burning, it's just browning.
Thanks, Madder. I think we get the idea. It's important to know what's in your dish, so you can explain what it tastes like to the person who's going to be eating it.
This tastes of wet flannels, and this one's got a wonderful nuance of high mountain cliff potatoes nurtured by a pregnant goat or something.
Ma'am, you seen the cliff potatoes?
Next to the unlaid chick embryos.
Of course, in a restaurant, it's the waiter who has that job.
Garnished with oaks of haddock flake. Sorry, the smoked haddock chowder is a very nice dish. It has a nice creamy, fishy, garnished with flakes and a nice smoked haddock in the middle.
It just so happens that creamy, fishy garnished with flakes and a nice smoked haddock in the middle is one of my favourite dishes, so I'll certainly be booking a table. Oh, before you do go out and order your ingredients, a word of warning from Keith Floyd about mussels.
Incidentally, the ones that are open, I need to tell the people at home, are not edible unless you can resuscitate them by massage like that. If they close down, that's okay. But as always with mussels, if they are open, don't use them.
Keith, mate, it's not working. I think it's time to stop now. But whatever ingredient you decide to use, you'll also need equipment. Yes, these days there are all sorts of fancy bits of kit on the market.
The problem with this piece of kit is it costs £2,500. And you can only measure one slice of potato at a time.
Not sure I've got the room for it, to be honest, Heston. What else am I going to need?
I'm going to give you a mouthful of custard. Just think about how that tastes. Now we're going to clean your tongue.
With what?
Using this tampon.
Well, I was never going to get a straight answer from him, was I? What about Delia?
If the lettuce is too dirty and you simply have to wash it, then the best way to dry it is to put it into a salad basket like this. And if you can go out into the garden, swing it round and round and round like that. If you haven't got a garden, then you'll just have to shake it vigorously over the sink.
It'll also stop the neighbours thinking you're having a midlife crisis. By the way, I love the way she's talking about lettuce and is also dressed as a lettuce, stood between 2 carrots. In an earlier show, Delia had a slightly more down-to-earth list of kitchen essentials.
The first thing anyone who wants to cook is going to need, of course, is a good set of cooking knives.
Cooking knives, yes.
A chopping board.
Chopping board.
A modest little potato peeler.
Potato peeler.
And it's good to have 2 different sorts of sieves.
2 sieves, yes.
A good, strong pair of kitchen scissors.
Kitchen scissors.
You can never have too many wooden spoons.
Wooden spoons, yes.
Other sorts of kitchen spoons are important too. A ladle.
A ladle. Must get one of those. A draining spoon.
Too. I think this is a good little piece of equipment
Yes.
too. Just an ordinary, old-fashioned mincer.
Mincer, of course.
A balloon whisk, like this one
A
here.
whisk.
And a large bowl.
A large bowl.
Either one of these.
One of
and
these.
a metal colander.
A colander.
And this is Linda.
Hello,
who runs
Linda.
the shop.
Yes, every kitchen needs a Linda, a sort of forerunner to Alexa. The only difference being Linda required a lift home at the end of the day. To give your show that veneer of professionalism, it's so important you get yourself up to speed with some of the key words and phrases commonly used in the
This is
kitchen.
called a croustade in French, which is called in English an all-purpose pastry case for filling with either sweet or savoury mixtures. Which
Yes,
is
well,
a
I'll
bit
probably
difficult,
just stick
so
with croustade
reason
then.
why
You'll also need words like drizzle,
Tiny drizzle of olive oil.
schmooze,
So all I do is schmooze the ribs,
spritz,
spritz of lemon juice.
blitz,
And now we blitz. And then we blitz again.
whiz it up,
And whiz it up.
wazz it up,
And literally just wazz it up.
squeeze it,
Pick it up and you squeeze it.
squish it,
And squish them in.
scrunch it,
Scrunching it, look. Just give it a little scrunch. Scrunch it up in the ball.
slosh it in,
Slosh it in. Slosh it in.
chuff 'em up,
Chuff them up, do you know what I mean?
bash it,
I just bash it. Bash it like that. Bash the hell out of it. Bash it in the oven.
whack it,
So all I've got to do now is whack it in the Aga. Whack it in. I just whack it in the oven. You can whack it in for like 10, 12 minutes.
Bang it.
Bang that in the oven.
chuck it,
Here, I'll chuck it in the oven.
and give it a slap.
Give it a slap.
You'll almost certainly need a host. This can be a posh woman,
I don't have a dog. Actually, I do have a dog. Dog's away, though.
oh, anywhere nice. Say what you like about Nigella, but even though she's a full-time TV cook, she never lets her housework suffer.
I've restocked my licorice box.
Amazing. But you can also try a posh man.
Well, that looks like something I could manage.
I bet you could. In fact, Hugh Fernley Whittingstall is so posh, he once featured a guest appearance from fellow Old Etonian Prince Harry.
I try, I've been living here a long time.
Or you can try a woman pretending to be posh.
Them for about 2 or 3 hours to get them soft enough to make hummus.
Or a man who isn't posh by any means, but who we suspect is slightly posher than he would have us believe.
You want a nice big handful. Big old handful. Big handful. Big old handful.
The other way to go, of course, is wacky.
Take a spoon and you tap this.
You're the deranged sprout around here, mate.
Or as a last resort, there's always regional.
There's fish and happy meat, pork and rods and twisted.
And I'm not quite sure where this guy fits in.
And at the risk of being a total sort of food philistine, what's the point of it?
That's a very good question, Lloyd. And the answer to it is...
Jimmy's new book to accompany the series is available now.
There's absolutely no point in making a cookery show unless you've got a book to sell. Rick Stein had the right idea from the word go. Here he is attempting to plug his cookery book on someone else's show, Farmhouse Kitchen.
You're very welcome.
Oh.
You've been winning lots of awards recently, haven't you?
Yes, and particularly for the book. I was very pleased about that because it was sort of...
A bit cheeky, but you can't beat an old pro like Grace Mulligan, who quickly upped the ante.
My mushroom patty recipe comes from this new book of brand new recipes, Farmhouse Kitchen Freezer
Nice
and
book.
Microwave, which is a nice partner for our earlier, very successful microwave.
2 books. Nice.
Our other recent paperback is Cooking for 1 and 2.
Another one, yes.
Which actually contains both conventional cooking and microwave methods. And you may already know the first 3 paperbacks.
Another
from
3
many
books,
years
yes.
ago, which were combined together into one big hardback volume here.
Is this a
which
cookery
also has
show or
another
QVC,
partner,
Grace?
My big baking book. It's quite a library.
It certainly is, Grace. Not content with one plug, Grace then counterplugged during Rick's
Very
bit.
interested in this because we have a little delicatessen shop in Padstow.
Game, set and match to Mulligan. Stein leaves licking his wounds and smelling of fish as usual. So, now you know all the stuff you'll need to make your cookery show. Let's eat the magic yellow tomato and travel back down the time tunnel to see how the BBC managed it back in 1966 with Adventurous Cooking. Love this title sequence. I hope you're counting the number of handfuls of mussels. It's quite important. Starring the fairy godmother stroke wicked stepmother of cookery shows, Fanny Crick.
This is a programme about fish.
Oh, love fish. What we all loved about this show was that the recipes were nice and easy to follow.
Same applies to the potato. The amount of chips that makes a portion of chips to go with 2 fillets as 1 portion makes 2 lots of potato baskets, the goujon, the pomme gaufrette en corbeille, and 2 lots of pomme gaufrette with them.
Hey, what? Pongo what?
Pick up any one point you like.
What's she making now?
And bend it over to centre. Miss one. That makes us leave the second.
The third one,
Take
yes.
the third.
The fourth.
The fourth. Take the fifth.
Let's
Leave
see.
the sixth. Take the seventh. And leave the eighth. And that is the shape
Of a windmill?
of a Henry VIII shoe buckle.
A Henry VIII shoe buckle, of course, yes. What's next?
Here we have the...
You all right, Fanny? Stay at home, protect the NHS, save lives. Fanny wasn't working alone. No, she had various assistants. First, there was little Simon.
Simon's coming in.
Hopefully he's got a hanky with him or some hand
One by
sanitizer.
one in this
Great look, Simon. Rolled up sleeves, sunglasses and a cravat. Must try that. Simon's great talent was to make Fanny's food look its
He
best.
will show you the pasta that I'm using, not the old spaghetti we used last time, because you've seen that, but another one called Tagliatelle Verdi, and he will show you that.
Yeah, you're really selling it there, Simon. Great job. No one knows if there was anything more to Simon and Fanny's relationship than merely a professional one, although she did seem to have a bit of a moment when he came on a little later.
And Simon will bring us that to look at later on.
When the show came back in colour, they wisely decided to go for a female assistant, Sarah. Unfortunately, on her first day, she didn't set her alarm and turned up in a nightie. Before long, ITV were at it, launching 1971's Farmhouse Kitchen, with hosts beer and pop. Of course not. Beer and pop was the theme of this particular show. Farmhouse Kitchen introduced us to this future icon, Mary Berry, who was left in no doubt that it's a man's world.
What, in fact, are you doing at the moment, Mary?
Fresh lemonade and ginger pop.
Well, that sounds fine, but we'll go back to the real stuff.
Yes, dear, we'll get on with the proper stuff. It's man's work.
Now, maybe you don't approve of the way I do it.
I don't, actually.
Don't pull your punches, mate. Next up, and leapfrogging Mary Berry, was the biggest cookery beast to date, Delia Smith. What we learning to cook today, Deals? Ugh.
Hello and welcome to another programme in the cookery course. I'm sorry about the title. The word offal is very off-putting sometimes.
Yeah, just a bit.
Let me tell you where that word comes from.
Yes, actually, that might help.
It's derived from two words, and those words are to fall off. Because when they dressed carcasses in the olden days, it was all the bits
Right.
that fell off that were called
Ugh.
fall-offs. And now, over the years, they've become offal.
No,
Well, I'm
still
sorry
not
about the
doing it.
title, but
But cookery course by name and nature, this show was full of clever insights for the would-be cook.
I want to explain to you now how you can tell whether an egg is fresh or stale.
Great, always
First of
wanted
all,
to know how to do
You
that.
tell when it's in the shell. When you're buying eggs, try and look at the date stamp on the
Look at the date on the box, of course. You know, I never thought of doing that. Thanks, Delia. But once I've got my eggs home, what are some of the recipes I can use them in?
That's now ready to come out of the pan and onto the plate. It really doesn't take very long. And there you have it, one fried, very fresh egg.
Fried egg, wonderful. Can't wait to show the wife and kids that one. Gonna look like a pro.
Then add a dessert spoon of soy sauce and leave it to absorb the flavour of the soy sauce for about half an hour or so while you go off and have a rest or a bath.
Well, I've had a rest and my wife's in the bath, so, But hot on the heels of Delia was this guy.
Pilchard! 1,000 times as good as herring! Pilchard, the idol of a popish nation!
Keith Floyd.
I hate oysters! I hate fish! I've had enough! I want some hamburgers and
Someone's in a good mood. It wasn't just food that Floyd was on. He was always keen to incorporate drink in his cooking, too.
drop of white wine.
A drop of wine, always a good way to pep up a meal.
Sizzling and fuzzling.
Whoa, that's almost a whole bottle. Like I say, Keith did find cooking thirsty work.
But before I cook, it's very hot. The lights have been burning on me all morning. A sip of cider. Quick slurp for me. And let that cook away for a while I have my little slurp. I'm going to have a slurp. Let's start our little acquaintanceship as we mean to carry on with a quick slurp of your wonderful wine. Cheers to me. Cheers, Mary. Thanks very much, Mary.
Great pleasure.
I have a little glassette. We're having lots of glasses of wine, having a fine time. I don't care. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me in the place. And so we have a little glass of this, which is very enjoyable indeed. I hope you're enjoying it like we are. I tell you what, the best way
Whoa, that's a big one, even for you, Keith.
is have a drop of the proper Devon's cider.
The booze did seem to have a certain effect on him.
When does your husband come home?
About 3 hours' time.
Oh, get in the wardrobe, Keith. Looks like he might be back early.
is becoming... a
Mind
bit
you,
of a
he was
struggle.
never as drunk as Hugh Fearnley-Whittingstall that time. I mean, look at him. Absolutely legless. Pull yourself together, Hugh. What Keith Floyd did was open the door to the slightly more eccentric cooks. These two were pretty out there. Clarissa Dixon Wright and Jennifer Patterson, the self-styled two fat ladies. So, what's your definition of a fun time?
Now it's fun time. This is when we mould it.
Right.
You get the whole lot out, plonk it in.
That looks nice.
If I'm doing this for children, I call it a roast hedgehog.
I bet they love that.
Well, when I've moulded it, I stick all over.
These two cooks didn't have much time for health foods.
In the frying pan, I've got an ounce of lard. You must use either lard or beef dripping. And then a half an ounce of lard, and a little more lard.
Well, at least they're living an otherwise healthy lifestyle. Oh.
I don't care. Haven't smoked all day.
Still, it didn't stop them from being a hit with the local men.
Lovely bike, isn't it?
Seat's wet.
With all this posh about, it was time for the scales, thank you, to tip in the opposite direction.
I suppose you could say...
It's Jamie! Jamie! Oh, doesn't he look young there? I always used to love the way that Jamie welcomed us to the show.
Hello, sweetheart, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good, babes. You? Jamie was always keen for us to use all three of our senses in the kitchen.
Use your senses. Sound, ear, smell.
Sound, ear and smell. Essex born and bred, Jamie was proud to be bringing that little bit of the estuary into the kitchen.
It's really, really pucker. Pucker. Cheap as chips. Use nuts, mate. You know you'll want some of that. Knock it out in the mould, straight in the oven, you're laughing. Knock it out on a Sunday just for you and your missus. Shimmy of How's Your Father. It really made it lovely, jubbly and yummy.
Then, mid-90s, some bright spark had the idea of combining cookery with a game show and launched this on an unsuspecting British public. And front and centre, the wonderful Ainsley Harriott.
Yeah, a little bit of a jig just to wake up in the morning. Hello and welcome to Cant Cook, Won't Cook.
So, what was the idea? Well, it was a competition between two members of the public who not only won't cook, but can't cook.
You're pretty useless in the kitchen, is that right?
Very useless, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed in.
You're not allowed in. Do you help her out at all?
She's not allowed in.
She's not allowed in, Ainsley. Pay attention, mate. The contestants were allowed to bring someone along with them for the day. Usually it was their partner.
It's your brother-in-law you brought along with you.
A bit fishy. Still, a night in a hotel with your sister's husband. Don't tell me you haven't thought about it, Mother. But I'm sure that's not the case in this instance. As entertaining as this show was, I was never sure what was more annoying, Ainsley or the music.
Can't cook, won't cook. Can't cook, won't cook. Enjoy yourself. Now pop your hat on. Pop your hat on there. Let's get cooking. I think it's time to tickle those taste buds.
Well, you get the idea with that. Once the cookery as game show idea was out of the bag for life, there was no holding back. And along came its upmarket cousin. MasterChef! Hosted by Lloyd Grossman, but featuring some guest judges. So, who's the guest this week?
It's time to welcome tonight's very special guest judge, Michael Caine.
Sorry, for a moment there I thought you said Michael Caine.
Hello, Michael, thank you.
Blimey, it is Michael Caine. Prestige booking or what? Turns out Michael's a keen cook himself.
For you and me.
I really enjoy cooking meats.
You can cook what you like, mate. You're Michael Caine. So it's Mike this week. Who have you got next week, Lloyd? Roger Moore? Audrey Hepburn?
Now, next week I shall be joined by Edwina Curry and
That's more like it, yes. MasterChef had a little rest in the early 2000s, only to come storming back with these two numpties.
Make me do that. Oh, it's been sweetened, all right. Wow.
Each with their own catchphrase.
Let's go and find some cooks. Let's get fatter.
Just remind me of their names, someone.
Pudding Face liked it, but Tarot-ted, no.
Pudding Face and Tarot. But it's not just Greg's weight that's changed over the years. He's lovely and slim now, isn't he, girls? The whole programme has had a full 60-minute makeover. Before, it was
Each week, our 3 competitors face a simple challenge. Prepare a championship-quality 3-course meal for 4 people and do it in just 2.5 hours.
And after...
But over the next 11 weeks, only the 20 best cooks will have the chance to face some of the world's most demanding culinary challenges.
Before, it was very much... And after, it was... Whoa! Before, it was...
I've got to interrupt you because it's now the 10-minute moment, a crucial point. It means the competitors only have 10 minutes left.
But after...
2 minutes! 2 minutes! Come on! Come on!
Either way, with MasterChef, it's all about the taste.
Oh, yum!
With the success of MasterChef, suddenly the race was on for a slice of the cookery competition pie, firing on all cylinders now. And along came MasterChef for cakes, the Great British Bake Off. So, what is the groundbreaking format that has captivated the nation and turned us all into bakeaholics?
I did a really bad cake, and everyone else did excellent cakes, and I think it's totally fair.
Yep, that's pretty much it. Enough said. We didn't include a load of clips from Bake Off because, well, there's a bit of bad blood, to be honest. From Fanny Crick to the Great British Bake Off, there's always room for a great cookery show. And I hope you've appreciated how I've resisted the temptation for cheap innuendo, like perhaps a lesser comedian might. Because with cookery shows, if you start going down that route, well, there'd be no end to it. Good night and bon appetit.
Sorry, I feel like I'm in one of those really awful bad English porn films of the 70s.
Let's put a bit of fire in the engine. If it goes in it, it's got to go on it.
I'm desperate to dip that pork into something wet.
And now I'm going to disrobe, derubber.
Ruth, you're a cook. Your squirrel is moist.
Are you twitching to toss?
Well, I don't know. We could have a go.
Serious bit of squelching to do now.
You can see already how enormously that has swollen up.
It's not as much of an erection as I wanted it to be.
So I'm very excited.
I can dip my nuts.
You get a sense of the weight of the 2 meatballs. I'm getting excited now. I am now showering the whole of the kitchen with seeds. Like sinking your hands into soft flesh.
That to look at later on.
Now, you might be tempted to want to have a good old beat here, but you mustn't.
This is really hurting my arm now. As Ersat's interactive pop experiences go, that was fantastic.